Do you believe in stories that span generations? Do you believe that there are things that defy our logic, that escape scientific explanation, and that simply shouldn't exist? The story you're about to hear is not a work of fiction. It is based on real events told by a woman named Sara who lived in the interior of the state of São Paulo in the quiet town of Juquiá, nestled in the heart of the mysterious Ribeira Valley, a region known for its dense nature, for the mists that arise without warning, and for keeping for decades dark reports, stories of apparitions, creatures and presences that walk between our world and the other. Sara never sought attention. She never told her story to gain fame or scare anyone. She kept this secret for years. A secret that began when she was just a 7-year-old child, and that, against all odds, returned 8 years later in an even more disturbing form. A faceless man, a tall figure wrapped in a black cloak with a hat covering his head, and a face that showed no eyes, mouth or nose, just a deep, dark, absolute void. The kind of presence that doesn't speak, but paralyzes you, that doesn't run, but always catches up, that doesn't exist, but is there. In this narrative, you will learn the details of 2 real encounters, 2 remarkable moments that challenged a young woman's understanding and remain unexplained to this day. But before you continue, a warning. Many who hear this account report chills, strange dreams, or a feeling of being watched. Not because the story has some kind of curse, but because perhaps whatever visited Sara that night is still out there. Get ready. Turn off the lights, adjust your headphones, and open your mind to a story you will never forget. The year was 1943. The small town of Juquiá, in the interior of the state of São Paulo, was still isolated from the rest of the country. The dirt road that led to the neighborhood where Sara lived was surrounded by dense forest, and the only sounds were birds singing and children laughing as they ran barefoot. That afternoon, Sara, only 7 years old, was playing jump rope with her friends. It was a normal afternoon until everything stopped. Without warning, a deathly silence fell over the place. The wind ceased. The sounds of nature fell silent. The other children began to run, screaming, but Sara stood still. Something inside her told her that something terrible was approaching. Sara slowly turned her head and saw him. A very tall man, wearing a long black cloak and a wide-brimmed hat, was walking slowly down the street. His presence seemed to distort the air around him, like a breathing shadow. But what made Sara's blood run cold was his face, or rather the absence of it. Where there should have been a face, there was only darkness, an endless hole, a black spot that swallowed the light. He stopped in front of her, motionless, as if observing her every thought without needing eyes. Sara felt her legs tremble, but she couldn't run away. Time seemed to stand still. Then, without saying a word, he turned and disappeared around the corner as if he had never existed. She ran home in tears. She told her mother, but no one believed her. They called it childish fantasy, but Sara knew. She had seen the impossible. Years passed. Sara grew up and married Juan Ribeiro, an honest and hard-working baker in the city. She was only 15, but she was mature and dedicated. She helped her husband every night at the bakery, kneading bread under the hot steam of the wood-fired oven. The routine was peaceful. In the early hours of the morning, they would return home by bicycle, pedaling along deserted roads shrouded in low fog. Sara believed she had left the past behind. She was wrong. It was a cold dawn in 1951. The wet ground reflected the faint light of the moon. Joan pedaled. Sara was on the back, her eyes attentive to the landscape. Suddenly, she felt something. A chill, a silence, familiar. She turned, and there he was, the same man, the same black cape, the same hat, the same emptiness in place of a face. He was walking slowly along the dirt road, miles away from any town. Sara screamed, "João, speed up! It's him, the Faceless Man!" João looked, and even though skeptical, sped up. The bike gained speed, the tires almost jumping off the road. But the man was getting closer. Even without running, he was there, side by side with the bike, effortlessly, silently, expressionlessly. It was as if the world obeyed him, as if time and space bowed to his presence. Sara tried to see his face more closely. There was nothing, just a dark, deep abyss, as if she were looking at the absence of everything. Desperate, João turned the bike onto a side trail. The forest closed in, branches hit their faces, the road disappeared. But for a moment, the man was gone. They stopped the bike, gasping, in shock. They looked around, no sound, no footprints, nothing. It was as if he had never been there. But the fear remained inside them. In the days that followed, Sara remained silent. She avoided going out at night. She avoided riding her bike. She avoided looking back. She knew it wasn't a dream nor an invention. It was real. She told the story again, now as an adult. But people laughed. They were suspicious. They said it was her imagination or the influence of some ancient superstition. But Sara carried a certainty that no one could take away from her. That being was still lurking. Years later, now older, Sara still remembers that early morning clearly. The faceless man, his cape fluttering without wind, the sound of bicycle tires, being overtaken by the silence of the entity. She never saw him again, but she always felt him. In empty streets, in recurring dreams, in reflections of dark windows, that eyeless gaze, that emptiness that chose her when she was just a child. She knows. He is still there, waiting, watching, faceless, timeless, and endless. To this day, Sara has never found out what that figure wanted. The faceless man disappeared as quietly as he appeared. But on cold nights, when the wind blows through the deserted streets of Juquiá, she still feels chills. She says that sometimes, when she looks back, even when no one is around, she feels as if she is being watched. Maybe he's still out there, waiting, looking for someone who dares to face him and see what should not be seen, because some presences do not come to do harm. They come to remind us that there are things that cannot be explained, things that prefer silence. And you? Are you sure you're alone now?